Hey, boss, bitch, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Terry Smooth. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. A flight morning, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Now, we're going to talk about part 2 in the series, spiritual warfare. And this one is going to be about how to build a warship. Now, for the most part, what is a warship? Now, before we even get into what is an actual warship, now, I need y'all to understand from Archangel Uriel's perspective on spirituality in general, because a lot of times people don't understand and y'all think y'all worship something and y'all think y'all actually doing spiritual warfare, but y'all not actually understanding the root cause of why there's a battlefield in the first place. So this is what you need to understand, right? Now, when we talk about the first demons, the first demonic spirits that came, you need to know anytime y'all trying to correlate something to an original landmass, knowing that we in a whole big old universe, anytime you try to correlate an existence to a certain landmass, that lets you know that's when a group of spirits first migrated. So for the most part, anytime, I don't care what religion you're clinging on to, or what kind of race you're clinging on to, in some form, you're just trying to be an ancient Arab, because even when you want to talk about Muslims and Hebrews and things of that nature, this is where the first spiritual systems came from, the first language and things of that nature, and how y'all want to utilize the language in terms for spiritual natures. So this is what you need to know. The concept of spirits coming, demonic spirits coming down here and fighting for space is originated from that. So I don't care what religion you're into, and I don't care what kind of races you're into. You're backed and supported by some form of demonic energy. So keep that in mind. Now, now that you understand that, here's where the concept of worship came into play in the first place. Now, when we talk about motherfucking your spaceship. Now, everybody has a spaceship. Now, your spaceship may not be built for war. Your spaceship is just here to sustain yourself through this astral travel. But this astral travel, aka the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional realm, the yin realm, the subconscious realm, the heavens, the esoteric, whatever you want to call it, the etheric, whatever you want to call it. You have a spaceship, but for the most part, it turned into a battlefield. So it's no longer just something that you travel through, because now as spirits, we're all fighting for space based upon what this group of spirits have came down here and did. And this is what a lot of y'all want to worship a lot of times, unknowingly. You see what I'm saying? Now, like I said, don't matter what race, what you want to cling on to, how much consciousness, or what religion you want to cling on to. In some way, shape, or form, you're being an ancient Arab, and these are the ones who have brought these demonic spirits down here in the first place. Now, for the most part, now let's get into the actual warship. Now, what is a spaceship? Your spaceship is what? Your chakras, your solar systems, your frequency vibes, the manifestation of these things, your first lightest cloths that you create for yourself to go into, to be aware of yourself as a spirit, because your spirit is no thing, it's just your space. So your spirit is no thing, so to be aware of itself, and for others in the external realm to be aware of you in that space, we create imaginations, chakra wheels, and things of that nature. So this is like your solar system, the system for your soul to go into to sustain itself through this astral travel. So it's your spaceship. So this is where all concepts of spaceships or ships, spaceships or ships or boats floating over water. The water is representing the vibration, which is emotions, which is the rainbow waters, the esoteric realm, the subconscious, and the spaceship represents the bubble, or the intellect, or the conscious light that you create for yourself in order to sustain yourself and swim over these conscious influences or waters, or these current events that we create for ourselves. So for the most part, you have a spaceship. So that's your spaceship. You know what I'm saying? Your chakras, your solar system. That's your lightest cloths. And out of your chakras, they started to develop and manifest into other vibrations, which y'all want to call fleshly fluids, plasma, blood cells, organs. And these came after the fact as a shelter or a shield for your lighter body. So you're always creating more shelters and shelters, the more lower into the densities of the realm of realities you go into as a spirit, being no thing. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, now you already have a spaceship, but now that the esoteric realm has turned into a battlefield based upon y'all worship, now here's the thing. Y'all worship because y'all are on someone else's ship, and y'all going, aka y'all are on someone else's philosophical points of views, theology, or their ideas about this existence that we're in the first place. Now, that's when you worship something. But for the most part, you're supposed to develop your own worship. And that's where you understand the concept of building your own worship. Now, here's the thing. What is worship at the root cause of it? is when you're trying to act out the characteristics of a 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional being. Now, a 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional being will be a god body or a goddess body for all my females out there. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, anytime you're trying to understand higher consciousness, higher frequency waves, higher vibrations, and will that down into the 3rd dimension, right? You're actually playing out the characteristics of creating a warship. So for the most part, you're taking your spaceship, taking it to the shop, and making it bulletproof. Almost. You see what I'm saying? So you're taking your solar system, your chakras, your vibes, your frequency vibes, or in its lightest cloths, and you're taking this and you're making it bulletproof now. So for the most part, in the 3rd dimension, it will play out as a person who got true conviction, and they're not easily persuaded or naive, aka they creating their own map in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional realm. Now, here's the thing, right? Because when we start to talk about warship, this can go in 2 ways. You can actually buy one, or you can actually build one for yourself. Now, I would suggest you to build one, but if you was to actually buy one, this is for people who don't want to put in the work themselves, because it takes time, because you got to actually learn how to buy one, make a warship. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, for people who want to take the easy route, they will go buy one. So for the most part, what do I mean by that? In the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional realm, right, what you have is you are already a billionaire, trillionaire, or whatever number you want to call it. Because here's the thing, as spirits, we create imagination. So for the most part, we have to direct what we believe. We have to give it a sense of direction. We have to give it a sense of intent. And when we give it a direction, by default, that whole experience is called paying attention. So when we give our imagination a direction, by default, that's what y'all call in the 3rd dimension. That's paying attention to something. But in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, key word, that word pay, but it's just your attention. So you have infinite money. So because you have infinite abilities to imagine, to create. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, that's your currency, your ability to create a current event within a space or a location. So for the most part, you can do that infinite amount of times. A lot of times y'all create limitations down here for y'all in the 3rd dimension based upon who y'all following, or what location or what landmass you are wrapped in, and what overlords rule at. But for the most part, you have infinite ability to imagine. So when you direct your imagination, right, that's when you pay attention to something. So you start to add your imagination to whatever you're trying to observe. So when you pay attention to something, you're always going to get something back. So there's always a bargain and gain, a bargain and gain system. There's always a give and receive system, not just in the 3rd dimensional realm, but also in the spiritual realm. So for the most part, whatever you're paying attention to, you're always going to receive what you was paying attention to. So you're always going to receive some type of knowledge or some type of wisdom or some type of new enlightenment, regardless if you're paying attention to something dumb or paying attention to something that's wise. You know what I'm saying? You're going to receive some type of thing back from it for you to develop more traction or more light from it. So for the most part, you have infinite currency. So keep that in motherfucking mind. So for the most part, since you already a billionaire, trillionaire, right? It's almost like, let's make a metaphor like this, right? Let's say you're going to buy a car. Let's say the warship is a car. So you already got a bunch of car companies. You know what I'm saying? You got Buick, you got Subarus, you know what I'm saying? You got Toyotas, you know what I'm saying? Cadillacs, got all kind of shits. Got all kind of different car brands. You know what I'm saying? Range Rovers, Mustangs, or whatever. Right? So look at that in the 3rd dimension as religious systems or spiritual systems or different conscious, different spiritual systems in the conscious community and things of that nature. Right? So these will be like once you agree to the terms and conditions of a spiritual system or a religious system that have already been built in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension. That's like you going to buy a warship. That's like you going to buy a car, and you're going to buy it from different companies. Now, certain companies are better than other companies, and certain companies been here longer than other companies, and certain companies got reviews from people who have bought cars, aka warships, from these companies to let you know that, okay, this spaceship, aka this minivan or something, can sustain yourself through this astral travel, aka you could it got CD players in there, it got all kind of shit. So in the 3rd dimension, that'll play out as a convenient ass vehicle, right? So for the most part, reason why I'm saying that is there's nothing wrong with buying a warship, but for the most part, I'm going to get more into detail within this video why the person who actually built a warship for themselves actually has a more sufficient position in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional realm. Now, here's the thing. You may go through a lot of ups and downs and trials and tribulations and mistakes when you're building a warship, because when you're building a warship, you're basically learning off experiences, and you're basically learning from, and keyword, if you're on YouTube or Google or whatever like that, and say you're trying to learn how to be a mechanic, so you're going to mechanic school, right? You have to learn how to build a car. AKA in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional realm, you have to learn how to build a warship. So for the most part, you have to see warships, aka cars, how they was already built. So for the most part, you may take bits and pieces from different spiritualities. So you're going to have to put yourself in a circumstance where you're more observant to all religions. You're more observant to all spiritualities. And you're not stuck and fixated in one of them, or you're not leaving one of them, and then since you're lost in one of them, now you're trying to pertain all the other ones to that one you just got lost in again. No, you have to be very free, very light, and very balanced in order to understand how to build one. Otherwise, you're going to go through more mistakes and trial and tribulation than is necessary. So now, when you're going through this in the third dimension, that's going to play out as a person who may not believe into what anybody else is believing into at the moment, right? So you're going to go through a bunch of trial and tribulation of people looking at you like you're kind of weird, you don't make no sense or whatever like that. And then you're going to find yourself going through conversations of, do I believe in God or not? And then you're going to try to tie it to things that you may have been lost into to make it make sense. This is the first early stages of the battle and things of that nature, until you find a true spirit, the true spirit trying to call you so you can filter through all these demons that's in front of you. That's that little experience you're going through. Now, for the most part, once you start to go through those early stages, right, the battle, once your spirit, you start getting more spiritually strong, and you don't let those demons come in front of you to make you use logic or rationality to make you think that whatever you was thinking kind of bullshit, and then you got to tie back on to what other people think or what other shit is coming to you first. And you know, y'all people who y'all on y'all early spiritual stages, y'all know that early fight. That early fight of detaching from shit. You know, you detaching from motherfucking spirits and demonic spirits and shit like that. Y'all know, so I don't want to get too far into that. But people on the spiritual path already know. So I don't have to explain it for the people who just now. Now, for the most part, those are the early stages. So now you're building your spaceship. So now you're kind of you're understanding with your car, you understand, okay, now you need a CD player. Because your car ain't going to be convenient, because all these other cars got CD players, aka in the third dimension. You need to construct a moral system. If all these other spiritual systems got moral systems, you're going to know you need to construct one. Therefore, when you step into a space, aka it's a battlefield now, you're going to be having a whole bunch of people with all kind of shit on their tanks, all kind of shit on their warship. And if you're naked and light, aka you ain't got no conviction about nothing, you ain't got no moral system about something, and then you're going to be easily persuaded in the third dimension. But in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, your ass is getting washed and getting stabbed and getting took to jail and being judged by the Galactic Federation of Light, and now you're feeling guilty, aka you being guilty in the third dimension, right? In the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, you're in jail in some way, shape, or form. You didn't got locked up, you didn't already got judged, and every day that you feel guilty about what you did down here in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, you're in a spiritual jail. So you're in hell in the third dimension, but in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, you're in jail. Spiritually. You know what I'm saying? You didn't got locked up. Now you need somebody to come bail you out. You might need an esoteric lawyer. Hit me up. You know what I'm saying? You might need all kind of shit, but to get your ass out of that shit. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, because you'll keep manifesting trial and tribulation in the third dimension, and in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, that's just you doing hella time. You're doing hella time. You know what I'm saying? But that's something else. But now when we get into building an actual warship, at the root cause of it, it's just you being light and you understanding the root cause of where spirituality is derived from in the first place. This is when people had to start getting spiritually protected based upon other spirits that came down here that started wanting to worship and wanted to be the most high and wanting to claim a space and location and jump into physical shapes and forms, no matter the frequency vibration, whether they're in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional realm in the physical shapes and forms as stars, or whether they're in the 1, 2, and third dimensional realm in the physical shapes and forms as blood cells and you, which I want to call humans, moon man, and all that shit. But for the womb man, but men in wombs. But what you need to understand is this, and y'all trying to become days, but at the same time, you are a day. When you're building an actual spaceship, right, you're building a sufficient way to sustain yourself through this astral travel, because people are fighting for space. And if you can't proclaim your own space, your space, aka your spirit, is going to get washed up into someone else's space, aka someone else's spirit. So you're not going to be able to do nothing but ride someone else's ship spiritually. The physical shapes and forms and the body of knowledge and the concepts and the theologies that they have created. And then your ass is going to always go through the trial and tribulations, aka bumpy waves of waters and thunderstorms that they're going over, that you didn't even necessarily have to be on that boat ride in the first place. But you're going to have to weather those storms also along with them and come up with, whoever driving the boat, the faulty ass concepts that they telling y'all of why we gonna make it or not. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, you need to understand, your ass could have been on another ship, or you could have created your own warship. You see what I'm saying? And then had your own soldiers, had your own dojers and things of that nature, to the point that if you follow on a right person who got the right spaceship, then they will teach you how to all create a spaceship, to the point that y'all all got spaceships aligned with each other. Then y'all all can remain aligned. But this is getting deep. We just on part 2, y'all. This is just part 2. We got part 3, part 4, part 5, part 6. All right, look. But we just talking about how to build a warship right now. You know what I'm saying? We got to start early right now. Now, getting into building one. So you're going to have to understand the bits and pieces of parts that all these other spiritual systems got. AKA all these other spirits that may have been here longer than you. So they've been building warships, and they've been having followers. So for the most part, these are like demonic spirits who are attached to this realm of reality in some type of way. So I don't care what religion or what race that you're trying to cling on to. If it's a form of a deity that's clinging on to this realm of reality and making you feel obligated to do something to come to the space where it's at, it's draining your energy in some way, shape, or form, and it has been emotionally attached to something in this realm before I have died and passed on. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know nothing about it, because that spirit will be so free, it would be living its life in that realm of reality, trying to extend to another realm of reality. Otherwise, it won't be trying to come back here and drain y'all in some way, shape, or form, due to the fact of praising or eating the flesh or drinking the blood and things of that nature, and doing the ritual every first Sunday, and praising all the hermetics of all these demonic spirits that came down here on Mount Hermon. So y'all understand the geometrical shapes and the space and the positioning of y'all rulership. So y'all got the calendars and the Gregorian calendar and the Gregory shit all behind back to supported this, to the point that y'all arguing amongst each other based upon space and location. So it don't matter if you an atheist, agnostic, theologian, a deist, a motherfucking what's the 3 main religious things? It's the whether you are what they call that, you might be a I don't know, but they got a whole bunch of denominations in this motherfucker, and that's this, and then y'all all fighting amongst each other because y'all all fighting for space and location, because y'all all the demons that came down here on Mount Hermon. So that's why y'all all worship the hermetics. So y'all all like ancient Arab spirits and things of that nature. But for the most part, that's getting into a whole nother level when we talk about blood types and shit like that. And shit, but and blood streams and race, and I want to do another video on that separately and things of that nature, so I can truly give y'all the aspect of African American, or which I want to call Caucasian, or which I want to actually call the Negroid, the Caucasoid, you know what I'm saying, as far as the skulls, how the skulls get developed, how race get developed in the first place, and why it doesn't have anything to do with the blood type, and why your blood has more to do where you came from spiritually. Like I told y'all, we're constantly creating light bodies. This is a light body, so don't let anybody tell you your spirit is the light and your light is condensed in this body. This is condensed light. Your body is manifested from all the physical shapes and external representations that you see outside of you. You see what I'm saying? As far as the sun, as far as all that. So your first lightest bodies is your masculine and your feminine shapes and forms that you create as a shapeless, formless, odorless, non-flammable gas. So this is how you sustain yourself through the astral realm and becoming an individual, from you being no thing, like zero, like space, as just you being the spirit, your state of being. So whatever your state of being resonate with, you're going to start emitting imaginations to go in that direction. So that's when you start to become an individual, right? You start to go into the light. Your imagination is your motherfucking light. You created that. You're the creator, not the creation. So this is your creations. So you create an appearance. You create an awareness, and then your spirit is no thing, but it goes into that because that's something, because you're always trying to become something. So that's when you start to become an individual, and as the Neo, traveling through the astral realm as a smokeless, flameless, non-odorless, smokeless, flameless gas. Right? But that's you. That's your imagination. You creating a bacteria. You creating a masculine and external realm of reality to go into as an energy force. You create the energy. Your spirit is not the energy. It's not the light. Your spirit go into the light and get lost into it a lot of times. That's why you got so many developments of light bodies that feel fleshly fluid now. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, when you're getting into, you're constantly creating light bodies. So your first lightest bodies is your chakra system. You know what I'm saying? Your solar system. This is the first light bodies that you create. So those ones are so light in the third dimension, those ones could walk through walls. That's why you can know what's going on up and down the street just based upon a vibe. Because you can travel your spirit there out of the body. This is why you could create a thought form, an imagination, a fire, a flame to go into to travel the esoteric realm, aka to have an imagination about a place that you're not in the physical form. So this is why you need to understand, stop calling your fucking spirit the goddamn light, because you're creating light. Now, for the most part, the light is creating the physical realm. So the lightest light of it is your lightest cloths, your lightest bodies. You know what I'm saying? And this is your chakras, your solar system, the system for your soul to go into to be aware of itself and to travel this astral realm. You know what I'm saying? So those lights is going to be accumulated with a bunch of lights and informations and waves that's amongst this realm. So you go into that to be aware of this realm. You know what I'm saying? So as a spirit, you need to actually know that we're actually building a warship. So when you're building a warship now, see, we have a bunch of demonic spirits that's, when we talk about the blood and things of that nature, right? As far as your spiritual travel, you're going to resonate with a certain stream of events. Now, a certain stream of events is not physical yet. It's not physical yet. I'm teaching y'all because I got a video about the creation of bloodstreams. But in the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional realm, it's physical there, but it's not physical in this realm yet. But as a spirit, it's no thing. You're always trying to get to the 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension, but that's another video. But check this out, right? It's not actually physical as blood yet. It's just a form of a stream, a line of events. Because the frequency represents a line of events. And then the vibration represents the experience within that line of events. The time within that line of events. And when the frequency vibrations bounce back and forth at a period of time, it can become a force, an energy. It can become a realm of reality, a solid, a yang, an external reference. I'm saying, and it can bring something down. So it can bring that frequency vibration down within as a shape and form into an experience. So this is what we're doing as spirits. As spirits, you're utilizing your frequency vibration to create shapes and forms, aka energy. That's what energy is. That's why all y'all see in the 3rd dimension is energy. But a lot of y'all get lost into the light, which that's all energy is. And you forget that your spirit is not that. So you create all kinds of shapes and forms of why your spirit is that. So a lot of y'all go through spiritual turmoil and get spiritually damaged a lot because how lost y'all are. And you need to know how to lighten up so these things won't affect you in this realm of reality. So your spirit will be light. Therefore, you'll know how to separate what's actual trial and tribulation and what's actually wisdom and knowledge out of these trials and tribulation. And you'll be more spiritually strong and have strength and know how to not let the physical representations hurt you in any way, shape, or form. You see what I'm saying? This shit is real. Now, when we're talking about the lighter, and when we talk about the actual bloodstreams and things of that nature, right? Now, as far as the frequency vibration of your spirit, as spirits, you might have a spiritual family. This is what we call soul groups. That for the most, and your soul is just an individual spirit. You know what I'm saying? Because you got birth from 2 spirits. So those spirits are expanding and contracting bigger than you. So you will be a lesser bubble. So you become a soul, an individual spirit. So anytime you go into the spirit, you go into the overall idea. And then once you want to express it with your own spirit, you become a soul. You start to experience and give that time, that imagination, and that idea. You see what I'm saying? But that's what y'all need to understand on that most part. So a lot of the ancients used to call the sun the soul because the soul was the sun was a physical representation that the spirit was in. You know what I'm saying? So when they say we're in the spirit, you see what I'm saying? That's letting you know you're in the overall thought. You're in the overall concept. You're in the overall idea. You know what I'm saying? So when they look at the sun was a representation of an individual spirit. You see what I'm saying? A spirit then separated itself and created a shape and form in this realm of reality. So then you started to get the concept of man. But then man got lost into thinking that this was one thing. So man and spirit started getting conflated and things of that nature to the point that they started thousands of years later, man thought the ancients was saying that the sun was the actual spirit or the actual soul or whatever like that. But no, what it's actually saying is it is the being that you live in, solar plexus. See what I'm saying? Solar system. You see what I'm saying? The system that soul is in order to orchestrate and create a routine or a pattern. So you see what I'm saying? It was just lack of words that y'all have now, because for the most part y'all are ruled by the Saturn deity, and Saturn is down below. So when y'all look up at the 10th house, y'all think that's the highest place, but it's really underneath. So when we talk about the soul, y'all really was correlating to when Saturn was once here, when Saturn was closer to the space and location. And for the most part, where Saturn at now is due to the soul. So when you want to look at the sole of your feet, that's actually giving you a representation where Saturn is actually closer to. So And the spirit that's in that body of river, in that body, that planet, the spirit is, that spirit was the spirit that was here in the location that you in first. So that spirit spread it out a lot further because it was in the space that you're in first. Was first shall be last, was last shall be first. So Saturn has spread it out because it was already in the location. You're just a blood cell mimicking and trying to do what is done after the fact. And you just, that's a whole other thing. But when we talk about bloodstreams and things of that nature, it's coming more from that energy. So you might got a group of spirits that resonate with a certain frequency vibration, aka y'all create in similar ways. Now, based upon the location where we're spreading out in, you might be involved. You might have came here with a group of other spirits that don't got your same imagination, that don't got your same frequency vibration, aka the spirits that you're traveling with is from other spiritual soul groups, from other spiritual travels. So when you come here with these spirits and with this, in this realm of reality, you start to manifest physical shapes and forms based upon the travel. And when you're traveling through the astral realm, that plays out as experiences for your spirit to be able to expand and contract. So when you're expanding and contracting, you're taking many different bacterias and gases and living out those life forms, whether it's a long life form or a small life form to you. And you're gaining experiences within all these lives. That's basically what it is. But we're just traveling here as spirits and dying and being born, dying and being born, transforming, taking different shapes and forms, aka sex and all that shit, and then coming here as spirits within it. So once we spread it out against the waters and started to accumulate the physical representations on the physical representation on what y'all think is the bloodstream down here, you're only going to accumulate physical shapes and forms based upon the shared experiences that you have. So that's going to lead to family members, close friends, then spirits that's creating bodies that you share the location with. Then that's going to lead into y'all manifesting similar shapes and forms and things of that nature, to the point that that's where y'all get the concept of race based upon how y'all came up out of the water and how the transits is aligning based on, and what kind of tissue you're gonna and blood you're gonna develop out of that. So that's where that come from and race come from. But remind you, that had nothing to do with the 4th, 5th, or 6th dimensional realm and what kind of frequency vibration you was riding spiritually in your soul group. That had nothing to do with that. You see what I'm saying? And then that's more correlated to when we talk about blood type. You see what I'm saying? This is why you could be born within a family or within a location. And let's just use a family, for example. This is why you could be born within a family, and so you could be worst enemies with your family. And you like, damn, 9 times out of 10, all the lives that you have went through is just shared experiences because you was traveling here next to that person's space. So these are just shared experiences. In this realm, it's looked at as an illusion based upon you manifesting things from the light, the illusion, what could be created and created to be a realm of reality. You see what I'm saying? So it may appear to be your next door neighbor. It may appear to be your geographical location, your country, your government. It may appear to be your family. It may appear to be these things, but for the most part, through all these astral travels, in one lifetime, it may have been your enemy, and y'all just sharing experiences based upon astral travel. But that doesn't mean y'all was born from the same astral place and location, resonating with the same frequency vibrations. You see what I'm saying? So that's spiritual talk. You see what I'm saying? And that's correlated more to the having. That's why we have different bloodstreams down here. Because in the esoteric realm, 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional wise, you guys was birthed from different spirits. You know what I'm saying? So this grouping of spirits might have been birthed in this location in the astral realm. So as a spirit, your space, you're just traveling through the astral realm, right? So we're all spreading out. We're all offsprings of spirits, right? So you might have grouped up and got social with a group of other spirits. Now remind you, that ain't your soul group. That's just people you have met in the spirit realm, right? So now y'all all traveling. So now as a whole spiritual cloud, y'all all came here in this realm of reality together. So it plays out as y'all sharing the physical streams that y'all created out of the water. Y'all sharing the landmass. Y'all sharing the country. Y'all sharing what y'all quote unquote want to call race and all that shit. That's just what that is. Shared experiences. In the astral realm, y'all was just sharing experiences with y'all astral travels. But that don't mean y'all was spiritually born. You see what I'm saying? You get it? This is where it could get this is how you decipher how you might be spiritually older than the people you are younger than in the realm of reality that you was born in. Because your spirit might have been born before their spirit. And the way we detest that here is due to wisdom and knowledge. This is why your child may be more wise than you. You know what I'm saying? Or this is why you might be more wise than your parent, or so on and so forth, or your grandparents. You see what I'm saying? And you might be able to do a lot of things with your spirit in this body that look way more incapable than someone who may have cast a lot of stones or curses on you, who may have told you that wasn't capable due to the fact of their spiritual travels. They may lack spiritual experiences. And this may be only a few thousand times they may have experienced realms of realities. But they may have just been in this space first as a spirit. So they was here to create a shape and form first before you. But as a spirit, you might have traveled many different realms of realities and was born and been in many different bodies before them. So when just because you was born here after them doesn't mean your wisdom and your spiritual nature is younger than them, because you would know that how we detest it here based upon how wise you are. Flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air. Love y'all. And this is just part 2, building a warship.